Four new witnesses testify before Congress about UFOs and offer two new videos. A closer look at the Charlie Kirk killing. A Trump-backed Israeli admin completes the destruction of Gaza. A rare blood corn moon eclipse. All of that and more coming up next. Thanks for joining me for Alternative News. And today is September 12th. These are some of the top stories not covered by the mainstream media. And up first, retired Army Colonel Douglas Macgregor talks about the killing of Charlie Kirk. And Kirk could have been targeted. The colonel says he knew Kirk personally, and Kirk could have been targeted for criticizing Israeli genocide and war crimes and Israeli policy. The colonel also talks about the Trump assassination attempt being staged, among other things. Let's watch.
There's breaking news coming out just minutes ago. The FBI has photos of the person they believe that they tracked up the stairwell onto the roof and then jumping off the roof after the shot. So, you know, this may only be for my Utah audience. I don't know if this is someone from Utah or from out of state or out of the country. But this is what the FBI has put out just minutes ago. They're asking for anybody that knows anything to call 1-800-CALL-FBI. Hopefully we can track this down. I'm beginning to think that half of the country is dealing with mental illness. There's no value for life. Good morals are gone. My Twitter feed is just absolutely full of goblins mocking, celebrating the assassination of Charlie Kirk. What was your reaction to that tragedy yesterday?
Well, I had done some interviews with Charlie up until about a year and a half ago, when he no longer spoke with me because of my position on the Israeli campaign of mass murder and expulsion from Gaza. And I simply disagreed with him. I also felt very strongly from the very beginning that 7 October was allowed to happen. It was a deliberate event. I think that he changed his mind later on, but I never really reconnected with him at that point. But I thought he was a very nice person. I mean, I didn't see anything that I thought was necessarily criminal or evil or anything else. I mean, I think he was just a normal, average, decent, honorable person. I also know that he had $40 million in his organization's bank accounts. And a lot of that appears to have come from Israel supporters. And I've seen all of the communications back and forth about his own statements to people like, I guess, Tucker Carlson and others, expressing concern about the possibility that his donors would be angry with him because he was changing his views on what the Israelis were up to. So I think it's tragic. It's awful. But here's something else that also occurs to me. I don't think we know a great deal about what happened in Butler, Pennsylvania. I think that particular event was also another professional operation. Now, people said it was an assassination attempt. I don't think so, because the assassin would have put the second bullet through the president's temple. I think the person, whoever fired that round, fired it as a warning to the president. I don't think it was his intention to kill him. I mean, it's very quick. If you've ever had a good sniper rifle, probably the best in the world is still the M14. And I've shot that many times, and you squeeze off a round. If you miss by an inch, you squeeze off the next one immediately, and it's over. But we've never gotten the truth out of that. We had this poor kid on top of a roof who couldn't hit water if he fell out of a boat. He's killed instantly. or at least after the president is shot at, then all the material associated with him disappears. Within 24 hours, his body's cremated. We know nothing. So now we're seeing a lot of things show up on the internet. And the FBI has said something, as you pointed out. I don't believe anything the FBI says anymore. So I absolutely no confidence or faith in that institution that I once did. So I don't think we know. We have now a plane that belonged to someone named Derek Maxfield, who is a big contributor to Chabad, a major Jewish movement to try and buy up and reclaim land in places like Ukraine. And he seems to have had his personal aircraft there that suddenly takes off after the event and then turns off its transponder, which is against the law, then turns around and lands again. So people are pointing fingers at him. Is that legitimate? I have no idea. I think we have people casting about for anything that they can find to explain the terrible tragedy and killing of Charlie Kirk. And I don't think we're going to find anything out. I think we're going to be very frustrated ultimately. I'd be surprised if we ever find anything out. And anybody they point to, I'm suspicious of. You know, even Lee Harvey Oswald looks more and more today than ever as a patsy. And he had a rifle. It was Italian made. It was standard issue in the Italian army during World War II. And it was so grossly inaccurate and such a poor piece of equipment that the Italian soldiers readily threw it away in the desert in North Africa in 1940 and 41 and tried to pick up German or British rifles because their own rifle was so inaccurate. And that thing is supposed to be the one that Oswald used to kill the president. Doesn't look right. I don't think we know what happened then. I don't think we know what happened to RFK when he was shot. I don't think we know the whole story on what happened in Butler, Pennsylvania. And I don't think we are going to know very soon what happened to Charlie. All we know is that it shouldn't have happened. And we do know that he had security. He had plenty of money to pay for security. But when you're dealing with someone who is an expert marksman, who is more than 200 yards away and is able to put a round into your throat, cutting your artery immediately and killing you, I don't think there was much anybody could do to protect him from that.
Yeah.
And I just want to point out before we continue that Douglas Macgregor is a retired Army colonel. So he definitely knows a thing or two about guns and, somebody being shot and stuff like that. Being a military man and familiar with guns. And you just heard him say that the Trump assassination attempt was staged, and there was more to it than what we think, that he didn't really get shot. They used fake blood or whatever. In fact, next we're going to listen to a few minutes of The Raw Deal featuring Professor James Fetzer. It was recorded live earlier, and Professor Fetzer is actually going to talk about the Charlie Kirk killing. He's also going to talk about the Trump assassination attempt hoax, and he thinks that they used fake blood as well. And he'll talk about 9/11, because yesterday was the anniversary of 9/11, and he's going to talk about that and more.
Purchased to be blamed on Lee Oswald. The weapon was so bad, as the colonel explained, it was known as the humanitarian rifle in World War II for never actually harming anyone on purpose. He's also right at Butler. I've looked very closely at Butler. That was a staged event. I do believe there was a plot to kill Trump, because you had 29 million Donald J. Trump stocks were shorted, meaning you're making a wager that their value is going to drop. If Trump were dead, they would drop dramatically. But Trump, who is an actor, he's engaged, in worldwide wrestling phony stunts. I think that he had a blood packet. His ear was not shot. There was minimal blood. They moved the photographers around to get the fist pumping shot for propaganda purpose. That was completely staged. I think what we've got going here is that as the colonel was observing, Charlie Kirk was changing his views. He was no longer unqualifiedly supportive of Israel. That was going to be a big problem because of his key role within the MAGA movement. And as I've already observed, polling was showing that Gen Z has gone like 65% in support of Hamas and against the IDF in Israel. And he was coming out now in favor of releasing the Epstein files. The role of Bibi Netanyahu in expressing condolence before the public knew he was dead, the role of Donald Trump in announcing his death, the role of Donald Trump now in harassing the suspect, those are all totally inappropriate, but make perfect sense if you understand they were trying to create a big news story that would swamp the initiation of the 9/11 conference. Remember, they were worried. Once you tuned into the 9/11 conference, it's going to go 3 days. You're not going to relent. You're going to continue to follow it. They had to preempt that from happening. Nick, I realize you haven't been studying the Kirk shooting, but just given what you know now, how much would you think there's plausibility in my account?
Oh, I'm sure that's what happened, Jim. Yeah, especially what Douglas Macgregor said. I would hardly doubt it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really,
Yeah.
it's fascinating stuff, and there's actually a lot more here. Today, watch today. This is just recounting from yesterday. Turning the Tide Conference speakers, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern. This is what they wanted to preempt. Here we have reports widely spread. Kirk shooting, F.U., we all know who did it now. Blaming the Charlie Kirk shooting on a Muslim the day before 9/11 isn't going to work this time. Prime Minister Netanyahu. Tomorrow is September 11th. We remember September 11th. On that day, Islamic terrorists committed the worst savagery on American soil since the founding of the United States. Except it wasn't Islamic terrorists. That was the cover story. They were the patsies. Here we have Henry Macau reporting September 11th. Did Mossad murder Charlie Kirk? Here we have Charlie Kirk splitting with Trump on anti-Semitism crackdown, warns free speech rights are under attack. Here's Henry Macau, himself a Jew, but hypercritical of Israel for good reason. My guess is that Mossad murdered Kirk because he was starting to question Masonic Jewish control of the West. The assassin was not a doofus like Thomas Crooks, the pipsqueak that supposedly took a shot at Trump in Butler, PA. This was a professional job by an experienced sniper. Kirk represented a potential threat to Jewish mind control. Now, the FBI is helping Mossad by pretending a college student did it. Reader Harrison Smith at the 49-minute mark of hour 2 of Alex Jones today said multiple people from the White House are telling him it's Israel who killed Charlie Kirk. All the bluff and bluster of Alex and his guests went right out the window. Meanwhile, Charlie knew, accusing Jews of funding cultural Marxism, pushing the hate against whites they claim to suffer from. Here we have, if we can view it, Charlie Kirk making statements about the kind of claim. He doesn't want to generalize, but he's explaining about it and doing so, in my opinion, accurately.
Lives matter. It is true that some of the largest financiers of left-wing anti-white causes have been Jewish Americans. They went all in on woke, and it wasn't just ADL. It was some of the top Jewish organizations in the country that have done that. In fact, we have seen this with the recent retreat of Jewish donations that are no longer going to be administered to colleges, right? Mark Rowan, Leon Kaufman. Can we get that full list? It's very powerful. The part of the, so that's totally true. And by the way, Tucker Carlson reinforces this. So I'm going to kind of, it was quite a day on the internet. Tucker Carlson was interviewing Candace Owens. We have Candace Owens coming up next hour. And Tucker Carlson mentions that Jewish Americans have primarily been financing cultural Marxist ideas. We said this, by the way, last week, and people came after us. We actually said it in a different way. We said, I'm glad that Jewish Americans are reconsidering their financing of cultural Marxism. And people misunderstood it intentionally.
Stand by. We'll be right back with my special guest, Nicole Ostrom.
Station. Its programs and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and FreedomSlips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, FreedomSlips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
So I have concluded that by taking out Charlie Kirk, timed as it was, amounted to killing two birds with one stone, because they're not only taking out a guy who's turning on Israel, wandering off the Israeli reservation. He's even promoting freedom of speech. He thinks all the anti-Semitism legislation for anyone who's critical of Israel is wrong. He's even supporting the release of the Epstein files, which has to piss off Donald Trump. And I think they realized they had to nip in the bud. This guy was a real force with young people. Young people were already turning on Israel, as I say, the poll results. He was going to become at least as big or bigger than Candace herself, who's been such a brilliant critic of Israel. And they timed it to make it distract everyone, to flood the news. Remember the saying in the newspaper business, in the news business, if it bleeds, it leads. And this is why they had to promote it rapidly, since the beginning was going to of the conference was going to be at 5 p.m. Eastern. They had to get the story out in advance to flood it as a massive form of distraction, which is why you had Bibi. I mean, who the hell is a prime minister of Israel to be extending condolences to the American people for the death of Charlie Kirk? He had no role, no business doing that. And then who is the president to be the one who's announcing his death? It ought to be local authorities. Who's the president to be the one who's announcing the arrest of the suspect? I'm telling you, this reflects consciousness of guilt, deliberate effort to manipulate the outcome. Why then were they so concerned in distracting attention from a major 9/11 truth conference?
And did you see how fuzzy the image of the suspected shooter was there? You would think that with all the people there, that was a lot of people there. You would think with all the people there, and today, in today's day and age, with everybody having cell phone cameras and stuff, and if anything happens, people just pull them out and record. That's the first thing everyone does, is they want to record everything. And that's the best image we have, is that fuzzy picture, and that tells me that there's more, that they would have better images and stuff. So that I definitely think that there's that's a red flag, that they're hiding something related to that Charlie Charlie Kirk killing there that we were just watching. The Raw Deal with Professor Fetzer airs live at the revolution.radio website every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Check this out. And you're going to see there at the top, I put left wing and right wing, same bird. I'm talking about the two political parties. But this image that I created here really is an image of what they're trying to accomplish, and that is World War III. But if you look very closely before we move on, because I want to get going here, but you'll notice that superimposed over Biden on the left is a sculpture of Lucifer that was created by Rudolf Steiner. And you'll notice that I also superimposed an image of the sculpture of Satan that was also created by Rudolf Steiner as well. And Rudolf Steiner taught that that liberals serve Lucifer. Of course, most of them don't consciously realize that. And then, of course, Rudolf Steiner taught that conservatives serve Satan. Now, he calls Satan Ahriman because people in the West confuse Satan and Ahriman as being the same, but they're not the same. I'm sorry, Lucifer and Satan are not the same. Lucifer was a fallen angel, and Satan, also known as Ahriman, was never an angel. Is not a fallen angel, and people who study closely know that they're not the same. It's known in the East that they're not the same. Next, Israel completes its ungodly mission to completely destroy Gaza, and Israel has come close to killing every Palestinian alive, committing genocide and war crimes. Netanyahu, wanted by the International Criminal Court.
The Israeli military has blown up at least 3 high-rise residential buildings in Gaza City as Israel expands its operation to destroy the entire city and forcibly evict its population of over 1 million residents. Many of the demolitions are being carried out by robots that place explosives inside homes. Israel's killed 32 Palestinians so far today. Officials say another 83 were killed over a 24-hour period ending Sunday. Residents of Gaza City say there's no safe place to go.
In regard to displacement, we were displaced before to the south. There were also martyrs there and bombardment. Wherever we went, there were bombardments. From one area to another, from Rafah to Khan Yunis, from Khan Yunis to Deir al-Balah, there were bombardments everywhere. We later came here. It is all the same. All displacement is for nothing. It is enough.
This comes as Save the Children reports Israel's killed more than 20,000 Palestinian children over the last 23 months. This means at least 1 Palestinian child has been killed every hour on average by Israeli forces. The group said, quote, if the international community does not step up, an entire generation of children in Gaza will be lost, unquote. Meanwhile, another 6 Palestinians have died of starvation. That brings the total to almost 400, including 140 children who've starved to death.
And you heard Amy Goodman there reporting for the War and Peace Report. The Israelis are too cowardly to use soldiers. They're using drones and bots armed with guns and bombs. What they stand for is the Antichrist, known as Zionism. They want World War III, so they can present the Antichrist, a false Messiah. Let's watch protests that occurred recently, where now Trump has declared war on America and the First Amendment, shooting and beating unarmed American citizens, protesters. See them shooting right there. Now look at these people, none of them have any weapons. So you got little bikes and scooters to get away because they're shooting at you. If you're on foot, you'll probably get hit. Look at them, they got guns and everything. Now they have all kinds of ammo there. They're shooting tear gas and stuff like that, rubber bullets, but they also have live rounds. They'll shoot people with live rounds. Believe that. And they won't put it in the mainstream news either. It won't be on the news. That's military gear. These people don't have any weapons or anything. They have phones. He had a phone. They're trying to get away on those little scooters. Look, this is like in your backyard, in your neighborhood, Home Depot. This is what's happening in the United States right now. This is a violation of the First Amendment. These people have the right to speak. They have the right to assemble. Look at now they're using other kinds of weapons. They're spraying stuff. That's some kind of a pepper spray. Kind of a maze. And these guys, look, they're just filming. They're just trying to record it, take pictures and film. They're not shooting or throwing anything. They're filming. And they're getting attacked. They're getting shot. They're getting pepper sprayed. They're getting beat with batons, tased. See, there's the baton, you can see it up, and now they're shooting directly at the person. They were just recording. They shot the guy with the camera. He was just recording. That's a major violation of the First Amendment. Very unconstitutional. Trump is a traitor to this country. He's a tyrant. And he needs to be removed by any means necessary. If impeachment doesn't work, then he needs to be removed one way or another. Look at this. Look what he's doing. Now, these people... Some of them have water bottles. They're holding phones, flags. They're protesters. Some of them have signs. There's a guy with a sign. He's throwing a bottle, a water bottle. Also, sometimes when they shoot the tear gas, some of these people are bold. They'll pick the tear gas canister up and throw it back. So I've seen that as well. But that's going to hurt their... that could hurt them, it could burn their skin, it could burn their eyes. And so he throws it, and then sometimes they'll throw it back. Other than that, see the guy had the water bottle there. But the protesters, they don't have any weapons. They're holding phones and water bottles. And these guys are shooting them with all kinds of stuff. Smoke grenades. Tear gas, rubber bullets, live rounds, beating them with batons. There's sticks. Look at the sticks. What do you need that stick for? These people, look, she's got a megaphone, and he's got a phone. Look, two phones in the background. What do they need all those weapons for? Those sticks and those batons and those guns. This is tyranny. This is Trump tyranny. He's recording. These people are just standing around. They were trying to protest, and now it's getting broken up. They're not doing anything. These are not criminals. These are protesters. They're holding flags. They're holding phones. They're holding signs. It's hot, so they probably have water bottles. Some of them are throwing the tear gas back at the police, but they don't have weapons. This girl got struck by something, either a canister or a bullet, and she's bleeding. It hit her in the neck.
Excuse me?
She probably doesn't weigh more than she's an elderly woman. She got tear gas or something. And this guy can't even get up. He's on the ground. He's down. He looked like a young man, too. Probably very fit. All the smoke. They're shooting smoke grenades. Then the police, they start fires and stuff. Because they're shooting, launching all that stuff. Some of that stuff is flammable. It starts fire, so the vehicles catch on fire. Look at that guy was just throwing water bottles. That's all it was they had water bottles. But sometimes the stuff catches on fire, and it's not even the protesters that started the fire. It's the police. They're launching all kinds of stuff. Some of that stuff they're launching and shooting is flammable. They start the fires with what they're doing, the trouble that they're causing. Next, 4 new witnesses testified before Congress. You guys are going to find this interesting. To a special House task force that claims it's committed to transparency. But in a moment, you're going to hear a new version of George Knapp. A George Knapp who now makes excuses for our government and all of the illegal black projects, illegal related activities, and illegal funds related to these black projects. Now George Knapp wants to make excuses for all of that. Furthermore, they're suppressing advanced tech that humanity could benefit from, particularly energy technology and other technologies related to health and healing. And George Knapp is now blaming it all on the Russians, saying that all of the secrecy and illegal stuff I just described that we're doing in these black projects is justified for national security because of the Russians. BS, lies, lies, and more lies. George Knapp is a turncoat. But what's interesting is a couple of the witnesses presented new UFO video footage. Let's watch. Take a look at this.
Collect testimony from the witnesses, look for physical evidence, and all of that information went into one program at the Ministry of Defense. Thousands and thousands of these reports came in. A lot of them were first routed to the KGB, but then back to another program that came after this collection effort called Thread 3. And Thread 3 was an analysis program. We have provided to the committee the documents of what they were trying to do, and essentially they were trying to build their own UFOs. They were using the information from their observations and studies to try to figure out that technology. The guy who was in charge of that program, Colonel Boris Sokolov, told me that their goal was to basically develop technology that would be superior to anything we had, based on what they learned from UFOs.
Mr. Knapp, just in the name of time,
Sure.
To my understanding, did you have anything you wanted to submit for Congress to see in this committee?
I have submitted those documents.
Would you like to play any videos? Do you have a video that you would like to play?
I don't think it's for me to play.
No, that was for Alexander.
Yeah, Alexander's video.
Okay.
You could play it, he could narrate it.
Okay, we can, in the name of showing that video to everyone on task force, we'd like to play that video at this time.
Sure.
You call it the VVSS team.
Yeah, like 22,008.
That shit took off earlier.
Mr. Wiggins and Mr. Knapp, we'll get back to what that video was in a moment, but we just want to make sure that it was entered into the record, as well as all the documents. Those will be able to be publicly found for everyone in the country to view. If we could, Mr. Knapp, we'll continue on the line of questioning, but I'm going to move on to Mr. Borland's opening statements.
Good morning, members of the task force and the committee. I would like to express my gratitude for being invited to testify to the current task force created under the People's Chamber and the American public. As an American citizen, veteran, and intelligence community professional, it is an honor and a privilege to serve under oath before you on behalf of our country. I speak for myself and no former agency or company I have been previously affiliated with. My name is Dylan Borland, a former 1N1 geospatial intelligence specialist for the United States Air Force in an active duty enlisted capacity from 2010 to 2013. I've also been employed with BAE Systems and Intrepid Solutions as a senior analyst, expert in analyzing video, radar, and advanced electro-optical imagery for official identification of aerial order of battle, as well as naval and ground order of battle. I'm a federal whistleblower, having testified to both the ICIG and ARROW with direct firsthand knowledge of and experience with craft and technologies that are not ours and are reportedly operating without congressional oversight. Because of my direct knowledge of the reality of certain legacy UAP programs, my professional career was deliberately obstructed, and I have endured sustained reprisals from government agencies for over a decade. From 2011 to 2013, I was stationed at Langley Air Force Base, Virginia, conducting 24-hour operations via manned and unmanned aerial vehicles for Special Operations Forces in the global war on terror. During the summer of 2012, my team was on standby for weather, and I returned to my barracks on base, and at approximately 01:30, I saw an approximately 100-foot equilateral triangle take off from near the NASA hangar on the base. The craft interfered with my telephone, did not have any sound, and the material it was made of appeared fluid or dynamic. I was under this triangular craft for a few minutes, and then it rapidly ascended to commercial jet level in seconds, displaying zero kinetic disturbance, sound, or wind displacement. Some years after that experience, I was further exposed to classified information from the UAP legacy crash retrieval program through a sensitive position I held within a special access program. During this time, intelligence officers approached me in fear for their own careers, citing misconduct within these programs and similar retaliation that I was already enduring at this time. These issues include medical malpractice committed by Veterans Affairs staff, denial of work I performed while enlisted in the United States Air Force, forged and manipulated employment documents, workplace harassment, including colleagues being directed to not speak with me, manipulation of my security clearance by certain agencies, blocking, delaying, and ultimately removing my ability to be employed within the IC. The retaliation I face and the retaliation against individuals I know who worked in these programs is what convinced me in March 2023 to become a whistleblower.
And the many others that have come forward. We hear you, and it's time that we, enough is enough. It's time that we take action. Look, I'm not jumped to the conclusion that I believe that there are, aliens coming from another planet. But I'm open to that. And I think that it's our responsibility, especially when we're seeing that we have a government that is actively blocking information from us. Just last night, I tried to get an amendment onto the National Defense Authorization Act that fit in the germaneness of that bill to have UAP disclosure. And conveniently, it was named non-germane, mostly deemed by staff, not even an elected official. This is the kind of stuff that we repeatedly see. Last year, we were blocked by someone in House administration from being able to receive a full briefing from ARROW. So not an elected official, but someone in staff blocked us. And I've had it. Enough is enough. I want to cue up a video that I've been given. And as before it starts, I'm going to describe, this was taken October 30th of 2024. This video is of an MQ-9 drone tracking an orb, or this object, off the coast of Yemen. You'll see that another MQ-9 launched a Hellfire missile. You cannot see that drone. And so and I'm not going to explain it to you. You'll see exactly what it does. This is when it zoomed out, so you can still see it traveling. So, Mr. Knapp, do you have you heard about, events like this occurring? And what information might you have?
I have heard about events like this. I have heard about this event. Jeremy Corbell and I talked about it in one of our episodes a while back. We did not have the video, though. There are servers where there's a whole bank of these kind of videos that Congress has not been allowed to see, that the public hasn't been allowed to see. Occasionally, some of that stuff gets out in the wild, and it comes our way. It should be going to you. The public should be seeing this stuff. And why you're not allowed to, I don't know. But that's a Hellfire missile smacking into that UFO and just bounced right off. And it kept going.
It kept going, and it looks like the debris was taken with it.
Yeah, what the hell is that?
So
what
again,
flies like that?
Again, I'm not going to speculate what it is, but the question is, why are we being blocked from this information consistently?
Just a couple of quick points before we move on. If this task force really cared about the truth and transparency, they would have someone who could discern between nonsense and truth. And if you want truth, someone like Stephen Greer has a lot more evidence and witnesses. And Greer is still honest. Knapp, he was always an odd duck. He now admits that he got Bob Lazar busted over that brothel, I don't know, maybe 40 years ago or whatever it was. But Knapp presented himself to Lazar, to Bob Lazar as a friend, and then had him arrested. And that's something that George Knapp, has admitted to and talked about in recent interviews. Russia is really only a threat to us because we threaten Russia. Russia asked for peace. As long as NATO stayed out of Ukraine, Russia said there would be peace. NATO moved into Ukraine because the Biden administration insisted upon it. And there was a treaty between Ukraine and Russia, and the treaty was that NATO, there'd be peace and that NATO not go there. And Biden ripped that treaty up, and then NATO went into Ukraine. That's why the war started. And as you just saw in that video clip we just watched, a Hellfire missile, I believe it was, that couldn't hurt that UFO. That was a real UFO. That's why. If they're real, our technology and equipment cannot hurt them. And these real ETs are spiritual beings. They're here to help us. And that's something that Stephen Greer would also talk about, and that's why they won't let somebody like Stephen Greer up there, because he's too honest, and he talks about certain truths that they don't want the public to know about. Like, for example, these ETs are not alien at all. They're very closely related to humanity, and they are spiritual beings. So, and they're here to help us. And some of the plans and some of the things that they're trying to do, they don't like them trying to help us. Cynthia Hovan returned from her trip lecturing around the world, and she will resume her online Zoom webinars beginning on September 16th, teaching Euythmy, which is Euythmy are spiritual movements that were originally taught by Rudolf Steiner. And on September 18th, Cynthia, she will be, she's going to begin a new Anthroposophy lecture series. And of course, Anthroposophy was created by Rudolf Steiner as well. For more information or to sign up, visit the euythmyonline.com website. You can see it there, and then you can click on View Details to sign up. And I'm going to leave a link. I'm going to leave links in the description for all of this stuff. This past weekend, we saw a beautiful red September blood corn moon, which on September 7th was a total lunar eclipse. And it's pretty rare for there to be a blood corn moon total lunar eclipse. I'm going to show photos and a short video of it on the screen for you guys to check out. Of course, the eclipse itself was not visible from the United States, from this area of the world. But the moon you could see at different times, even during the morning and stuff. Even during certain times of daylight, and it looked like a sun. The eclipse is a time when beings higher than the humans see to it that justice is served. The reaper and corn is the, you have the reaper, and then the corn is the harvest. It is a time to look inward and also a time of rejuvenation and inner healing. The red, let me show you guys some images that people shared. Thank you for sharing these images of the red blood corn moon. And the red blood of the moon represents love.